Welcome, beloved ones, to Spiritual Sanctuary, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern awakening and the divine feminine rises through stories and rituals and remembrance. I'm your host, Bertena, priestess, teacher, historian, and lifelong lover of goddess mythology. In today's episode, we're stepping into the return of the goddess, why her stories matter now more than ever, how they speak directly to our lives, and what it means to walk a year-long journey of sacred feminine transformation. Together, we'll explore the real purpose of goddess studies, experience a sample lesson, and learn how you can join the 52-week goddess study at any point in your life. So take a breath, soften your shoulders, and open your heart. The temple doors are opening. Let's begin. Welcome back. Today we're talking about the return of the goddess, not as a trend, not as an aesthetic, but as a living force moving in the hearts of women everywhere. And I want to share something very personal with you. For decades, I've been preparing for this conversation without even realizing it. My love for goddesses began when I was a child. I had an elementary history teacher named Mrs. Sloan at Grapevine Elementary in Pike County, Kentucky. She was, oh my gosh, commanding. She was the epitome of the divine feminine. Long hair, short skirts, not traditional in a town where all my other teachers were preachers' wives or daughter in laws. And I loved the Adamses, they were wonderful as well. But Mrs. Sloan brought an interest to me with history, Greek and Roman mythology, Sumerian and Babylonian history, Egyptian history. What I didn't understand at that time was that I wasn't just reading stories, I was remembering something that my soul already knew. As high school came, I moved to Winchester, Kentucky, and I had two wonderful teachers who were married, Mr. and Mrs. White, and they were English and history teachers. My love for British literature and British history came from Mrs. White, and my love for all things history and sociology came from Mr. White. He would turn the student's desk around, sit on it, and face me and teach me the entire class. Well, that's what I thought. That's what it felt like because it looked like he was just teaching directly to me. So between those two and Mrs. Sloan and my grandfather, who was a World War II veteran, I went to college at Morehead State University to get a social studies education degree. The social studies incorporated history and sociology and government and economics and all kinds of other things. And of course, I did what most people would do. I graduated college, left to get a job, could not find one. So I went back to grad school. In that first round of grad school, I studied cultural sociology and criminology, where I looked at religion and cultures and gender. When I finished that degree, I received a job working as special education teacher, Department of Juvenile Justice, Day Treatment Center. And I worked there and a couple more places teaching emotionally behavior disordered students and learning disabled students history and English. I loved it, but as most things happen, special education and or history teachers are usually there temporarily until a coach is needed. And that's what happened. But it was a purpose. It was my path because while I was there, Kentucky required a master's in history education in order to teach. So I finished my master's in social studies education and I focused on British history and ancient civilization. And it was like I just noticed a pattern. whether the divine feminine was honored or people understood life differently or how relationships were different, power with women were different at that time. And then the goddess disappeared. Something in the human spirit dimmed, in my opinion. I went on to teach college. I recently took a history class, a graduate history class, to teach history. Long story. And Dr. Hanley, Jennifer Hanley, who's one of my good friends, was my teacher, and she allowed me to create my own course basically. She encouraged me, it was British history, so she encouraged me to look at all the different levels and roles of women. And from that, she's encouraged me to continue teaching, not at the higher education level. I will be leaving there in about a year and a half, but teaching here for you all. And that's why today's conversation really matters. This is why my 52-week goddess study exists, is because of all the teachers that I've had in the past and the teacher that I've become and the spiritual teacher that I want to be for you. I'm hoping you might feel called to this path. So I want us to walk together into this temple. And I want you to imagine something with me. Picture a world where the sky is always bright with the sun, but never softened by the moon. Where oceans exist, but without tides. And where there are seeds, but no soil to hold them. That is the world that we've built spiritually. Masculine without feminine. Action without reflection. Ambition without intuition. Speed without rest. And structure without mystery. And women, especially spiritual women, sensitive women, intuitive women, feel the ache of this imbalance deeply. We feel it through burnout, disconnection from ourselves, shame around resting or taking pleasure. We distrust our intuition. We self-silence, and we have the feeling so many times of being too much or not enough. When you study the goddesses, something shifts. You start to recognize that the things you thought were flaws, your emotions, your cycles, your intuition, your longing, desire, especially your sensitivity, are actually powers. Goddess mythology is one of the oldest psychological systems in the world, and it teaches us how to hold grief like Demeter did. It teaches us to walk into the darkness like Persephone and how to rise from it like Inanna. How to burn and purify like Sekhmet, and how to forgive like Kuan Yin. We learn to enchant like Freya and to flow like Ashurn, and how to remain steady like Hestia. These are not just archetypes. These goddesses are maps for living. And here's the thing. Women today are hungry for these maps, hungry for stories that reflect their inner world, hungry for teachers who speak to the sacred feminine rather than erase it. Women today are hungry for communities where their experiences aren't diminished or misunderstood. And this goddess studies offers permission to be whole again. I want to go back to telling you a story, a personal one again. There was a time a few years ago when I was teaching at one of the universities. I was teaching another academic course on gender and culture, and a student asked me, why don't we learn more about women? Where are the goddesses that we've heard about? Where are the strong women in history? And it hit me because they were right. Where were the women? Where were the goddesses? And where were the stories that reflected half of humanity? That question became the thread that led me deeper into priestess work, into rituals and divination, meditation, and into the spiritual path of the divine feminine. And as my life evolved, I realized something. This is the work that I want to carry with me into my retirement. Not a slowing down, but a deepening, a return to the teaching that shaped me, and a way to continue doing what I love while nurturing a community of women that crave the same wisdom. So, this 52-week goddess study is not just a program, it's my dream made real. It's the offering of my lifetime, and it's the bridge into my next chapter. This is only the beginning. There will be priestess studies, there will be priestess initiations, but we must know the goddess, the divine feminine, before we can move into priestesshood. Now, I want to walk through like a sample week so you can experience the journey for yourself. Today, we'll explore Brigitte, the Celtic goddess of fire, healing, poetry, and the forge. Imagine you open your weekly lesson and the first thing you see is an introduction. This week, we step into the temple of Brigitte, keeper of the eternal flame, who arrives not as myth alone, but as the fire that shapes us into a raw, into what is radiant. Brigitte teaches us that creativity is holy, healing is gentle power, and transformation is a choice that we make moment by moment. You begin to feel the warmth already rising. You read about her origins, the goddess of poets. You learn about the temples where fire burned continuously for thousands of years, and you understand why women prayed to her for protection, inspiration, and clarity. Something inside you recognizes her. There will be ritual segments where you may be invited to light a candle and ask yourself, what flame in your life have you been allowed to dim? What would it take to tend to it again? And you sit. I lead you through a meditation. You read through a journaling segment. And then you embody and integrate these lessons. You may practice a simple physical movement, just shoulders back and heart lifted, a deep breath. And then you begin to carry her through your week. You notice moments of inspiration, practicing small acts of healing, honoring your creativity, refining your daily habits like the forge, speaking your truth with poetic clarity. And this is what each week feels like. Not overwhelming, not rigid, just a rhythm, a return again and again to your own sacred becoming. You work at this at your own pace. And then we meet as a group once a month and we discuss and we share. And the deeper that I go with this work, the more I realize that women aren't starved for spirituality. They're starved for reflection, a spirituality that sees them. Women want to feel connected, to feel understood, and to feel seen. We want to feel part of a lineage, to feel empowered without abandoning softness, and to feel whole again. The goddesses offer this. They give us permission. They give us permission to descend, to rage, to desire, to mother ourselves, to forgive, to command, and to rest. But most importantly, they allow us to see our lives as part of something ancient and ongoing. You're not making your path up as you go. You're just remembering a path that women have walked for thousands of years. Now, one of the questions I get is, do I have to start in January? And the answer is absolutely not. This 52-week goddess study is critical. You can join in, it's cyclical. Sorry. You can join in January or March or August or November because your year begins the moment that you step into the circle. You receive all the lessons, the meditations, the access to our monthly gatherings from day one. The circle is always open, always welcoming, always ready for the next sister. So this makes the program evergreen, accessible, and aligned with the rhythms of real life. Now, while this course is self-paced, we do gather monthly on Zoom. It's usually the second Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time. And these gatherings are where the magic comes together. We will record these and they will be placed into the classroom privately. Women will share their experiences, their insights, their struggles. We laugh, we cry. And even if you can't make it on Zoom at 7 p.m., you will feel the sisterhood. This is the sisterhood that so many women have been searching for. Safe and supportive, spiritually grounded, intellectually rich, and emotionally real. Now, if your heart feels even a faint stir as you listen to this, I invite you to join me for a free informational session, December 11th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll be live on Zoom. We're going to talk through all of this, the structure of the program, what the week looks like, all of it. You can register for the live Zoom at bertena.org, Bertena, and go over to classes and events, click on events, upcoming, and it should be there until after the event. You can email me at bertena@bertena.org, and we can always set up a meeting for questions. Or if you feel inclined to go ahead and sign up, you can go to bertena.org, Bertena, go across and click on classes and scroll down and find the 52-week goddess study. Remember, you can join anytime throughout the year. Your journey begins exactly when it's meant to. Goddess studies aren't just about learning history or myth, they're about remembering yourself. The goddess is not outside of you. She is rising in you. She is waiting to be recognized, waiting to be honored, and waiting to be lived again. So I want to thank you for sharing this time in the sanctuary with me. May the stories of the goddess continue to guide you, to inspire you, and to awaken the parts of yourself that are ready to rise. Now, if this episode has stirred something within you, I invite you to join the 52-week goddess study. And if you feel called, please follow, subscribe, leave a review, make some comments. These small offerings help our circle grow. It helps support other women in finding their path home to the divine feminine. And until next time, may the goddess walk beside you and within you. I'm Bertena, and this is your spiritual sanctuary.